So first of all, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me. Um, yeah, Jeff Newton is my name. I'm a current trainee Buddhist chaplain with the Royal Australian Navy. I'm very grateful to have that opportunity to be under training. So I've done 2 years worth of my training so far, and I've got 2 years left to go. My Buddhist journey started a fair thing as a Buddhist for probably about 9 years or so now. Mindfulness has its origin in Buddhism. It's a very central part to Buddhism, as a lot of you may very well know. It really can't be overstated at how important mindfulness is, because sort of as far as a Buddhist is concerned, there's not a lot of chance of gaining enlightenment or nirvana if there's not a great deal of mindfulness, because that's sort of the spine that allows you to achieve all of the other things. But as you probably are aware, mindfulness has gained its place in the secular community as well. So, and it very much can benefit Buddhists and non-Buddhists. So you don't need to be a believer in the Buddhist path at all, and you don't need to give up any of your own faith or beliefs in any way, shape or form to find mindfulness of some sort of benefit. There's even a lot of evidence about how mindfulness works and how it benefits human beings, and it has been used a great deal in psychology, psychotherapy, quite a number of hospitals throughout the world, and even private business now is starting to bring mindfulness into their everyday activities, because the simple increase in productivity that comes with people being more mindful about their day-to-day activities is good for their bottom line. So there are a large number of benefits. Having said that, there's many different techniques out there about how you can gain mindfulness. Hundreds of different techniques, and none of them really are any better, or any sort of there's none that are really authorized or correct. The big important key with all of these different techniques is to find ones that work for you. And that's really the secret. So the journey along the Buddhist path, or along the path to just a little more happiness in life, along the path to a little less stress, whatever it is you're looking for, is pretty much the same for everybody. But the technique you use along that path is going to be a little bit specific to you and the context that you're in right now. So finding the right technique to use at the right time, that's the real secret. So my intention for these Wednesday nights is just to provide a number of different techniques for you to be able to pick and choose from. So you need to be a little bit sort of discerning, I suppose. Have a degree of mindfulness already to be able to go, okay, I might use this one at this point in time, or I might use that one. So that's my intention here, is just to provide a number of different techniques. I'm not going to say which one's better for you or which one you should use when. That's really for you to experiment with, play with. None of them are really going to hurt you at this stage. So play with them, use them, see how they go, and throw away the ones that don't work for you. Maybe not completely throw it away in the shredder, because, you know, who knows, in 6 months' time, that might be the one that might benefit you, because you have changed and grown in those 6 months. So talking about the path, and I'll just share my screen again. As soon as I can get rid of... There's got a little pop-up over the share screen button. There we go. Because the next slide here is looking at what I'm talking about here. So if you imagine the path towards enlightenment, or less stress, or more productivity, or a better relationship with your partner, whatever it is that you might want to get out of this, imagine that's a little bit like an iceberg. And as you go deeper into the iceberg, into the ocean, things get a little darker and harder to see. So you need to use techniques that are a little bit more subtle. Up there on top, where there's a lot of wind and a lot of sort of possibly even snow, and there's maybe some dangerous animals lurking around, You might need to use a technique that's fairly rough and fairly tough to grab your attention and to force you to have a little bit of mindfulness, I suppose. Something very obvious and maybe even, dare I say, a little brutal. And that's where we're going to start tonight. So we're going to have a look at this first arrow tonight, and probably even only the very top of that arrow, to look at some of the very first techniques you can use to just stop where you are right now and just try and block out everything else with a little bit of force to go, right, I'm not listening to what's going on outside. I'm not even going to listen to what's going on in my head. I'm going to stop the chatter that's happening in my head, and I'm just going to slow right down and stop for a moment. But as I said, as you get along the journey of your mindfulness journey, you get deeper into this iceberg, and things get a bit darker and a bit more murky, but at the same time, things slow down and get a little bit of stillness. There's not as much wind down there, obviously. There's not as many waves, and there might even be quite as many animals down there. So the techniques you use down here, and I've represented that with a see-through arrow, they're a little bit more subtle, a little bit more skillful. So it's going to be difficult to jump straight down there. It's sort of something you have to go from the top down. And even in, say, 50 years' time when you're a master meditator, you still kind of have to start here. It might only take you 30 seconds, and then you can jump to here, and that'll take 30 seconds, and you can jump to here. But you still got to kind of start there and work your way down to those real subtle, quiet, dark places to discover things about yourself. So I hope that kind of makes sense about the path itself and the different techniques that you need to employ. So again, not only in your current context do you think, I need to employ this technique right now, but on your journey, on your path. Okay, I'm ready for that next stage. I'm ready for some more subtle techniques that will examine some of those deeper parts or corners of my mind. So what is mindfulness exactly? Well, I've kind of alluded to it. So mindfulness, it's an open-hearted awareness of our thoughts, our perceptions, our emotions, our bodily sensations, and the environment in this present moment right now. So you can sort of see at the top of that iceberg, we're talking about bodily sensations and big thoughts we're having and can be easily seen. So maybe you are in a bit of a state of stress, and you're sort of going, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Oh, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. Silly me. Why am I doing that? So that's a pretty obvious sort of thought pattern. So the techniques we use tonight will sort of cut them out. But some of our perceptions, maybe our unconscious bias about our thoughts towards other people of different sexualities, different religions, political agendas, or whatever else, that we don't even know that we have ourselves. Some of those unconscious things that are deep down in that iceberg, that are dark, that's where we need those subtle techniques to go, I am experiencing that, or why did I react? Why did I react so strongly when that person just, did something pretty mild to us? So the better we know ourselves, by discovering those dark corners, those deep depths of that iceberg, the better we know ourselves, the better we can respond. The better we can respond to ourselves and be gentle with ourselves. You go, now I know why I reacted so harshly. Next time you might not react quite so harshly. Or next time there might be a little bit of a gap between that same sort of thing happening and your reaction. So it'll give you a space between that sort of stimulus and that response. So that mindfulness, you'll slow down your thinking, be more aware of your thinking, your perceptions, your sensations, and be able to just go, that's okay. You can cut on in front of me in traffic, no problem at all. Because while that annoys me, I know it's not really going to hurt. So we can be more skillful to ourselves and to others. That's the bottom line. So obviously there's a very different reason for doing that in Buddhism, but if anybody in any situation, whether you want to have a better relationship with somebody, including yourself, more focus at work, whatever it might be. Just generally be happier. These things are going to help. Okay, have we got any questions or comments at this stage? Nope. Okay. So as I said, the techniques are sort of layered. As you get deeper down the iceberg, the techniques will change. So tonight I'm going to start at the top of that iceberg. Some fairly simple, large type techniques that'll help you just stop right in your tracks and take a look at what's happening. So if everybody is comfortable, the first one's quite easy to do. And actually all of these tonight are going to focus on the body. The reason we focus on the body is because it can only exist in the present. You can't really focus too much on your body 10 years ago. Yeah, you've got memories about how you might have looked and whatever, how much hair you've lost since, but you can't really focus directly on your body 10 years ago, and neither can you do that 10 years in the future. So a body focus, any technique that has body focus is going to bring you into the present pretty well. And the first one is just a breathing linked with your hand. So if we all hold up our hand and we trace, do this with me, we trace our fingers up and down like this as we breathe in and out. Now the idea here is to just watch your breathing and move your finger in time with your breath. So you don't want to speed your finger up and start breathing really fast. That's not the idea. Is try to breathe normally and match your finger pace with your breath. So as you breathe in, you go up, then you breathe out. You breathe in and out. And really look at your hand. As well as your breath and the movement of your finger, focus on the touch. You can feel your finger against your other hand. You can see your finger moving. I'm breathing a little bit louder than I normally do so you can hear me. When you get to the end, you just start again, you go back. So you're using a lot of your senses here. You're using your sight to really watch your finger move. You're using your body, your touch, to feel your finger against your other hand. You're using a fair bit of your concentration to match your finger movement with your breath. And as your breathing starts slowing down, slow your finger down and keep in time. If you've got enough mental capacity, you might even think to yourself, slow down, calm, calm. And try and deliberately slow your breathing down if you need to. So that's a fairly, gross, fairly large scale technique. So if you're having a serious sort of moment where you're fairly stressed, that's a good one to use, because it really forces you to focus in on your vision, your feeling, your breath. If you're not quite in such a state, but you still want something to bring you more into the moment, you can use other body parts as well. And for this, we just turn our attention to that body part. So for example, turn your attention now to your feet. If your feet are flat on the floor, just really tune in to the sensation of your feet pressed against the floor. You can do this one standing. Even if you're standing in a queue, waiting for something, you can just turn your attention to your feet and take a little mini moment to be mindful. Feel the sensation of your feet against the floor. You might even rock your feet backwards and forwards a little tiny bit, just subtly, just slowly. And note the change in pressure from your toes to the ball of your feet to your heels. You might scrunch your toes up and feel them try to hold onto the carpet. Feel the temperature of your feet. It's almost like you're a body inside a body. It's almost like you're wearing your feet like socks. And I don't know if you've experienced it or not yet, but your mind might have already jumped to some other thought. What you had for dinner, or what you're going to have for dinner, or what you're going to do tomorrow. Because this one doesn't quite hold your attention as much as the last one we did. That's okay. If your mind jumps, just catch it, gently bring it back to your feet. And the other one that I really like doing is the same sort of technique, but with your hands. So I hold my hands up in front of me and just relax them. And now place all your focus on your hands. Let them relax, form that sort of, general grasping type of shape with your fingers slightly curled. And again, it's almost like it's a body inside a body. It's almost like you're wearing your hands as gloves. I don't mean that in a gross way, please. I just mean that as they're almost a bit foreign. You can feel the temperature of our hands. As we really relax them, we can feel some of the tension. Because your hands work harder all day long. Feel the temperature of your hands. The reason I like doing this one is because after a little while, my hands start getting warm. They actually warm up. And they start tingling. Don't know if that's because I'm holding up like this or just focusing on them. It's quite a soothing kind of sensation as my hands warm up and start to slightly tingle. Of course, you can lie your hands flat on your thighs if you wish. You don't need to hold them up. But it's that simple act of focusing on one body part and really noticing how they feel, their temperature. Is there a breeze? Can you feel the air against them? Does one finger feel different to any of the other fingers? Again, this is slightly more of a subtle body technique, so your mind may possibly jump to something else. That's perfectly okay. Just when you catch it, bring it back to your hands as gently as you can. And the very last body technique we'll do very quickly, because we could spend an entire session on this, and maybe I will next week, is a full body scan. So whatever position we're sitting in, we scan our attention up and down our body like a laser beam, or like a medical machine scanning our body for a disease. So we're starting with our toes. We scan this beam up our toes, up our feet, around our ankles, up our shins, up to our knees. We keep scanning up our thighs. As we move up our thighs, get to our hips. And we can't scan, or it's difficult to scan the entire torso, so we just focus on the spine. Scan your spine all the way up. See your spine in your mind's eye, up to your neck. Then you go down your arms, all the way down, both arms at the same time, down to your hands. Once you get to your fingertips, you go back up your arms, past your elbows, up to your shoulders. Then we scan up our neck, the back of our skull, up to the crown of our skull, over the top of our head, down our forehead, eyes, nose, mouth, and chin. And then we scan from our chin back to our mouth, nose, eyes, over our forehead, the top of our head to our crown, down the back of our head, down our neck, to our shoulders, down our arms, elbows, all the way down to our hands, fingers, then back up our hands, all the way up to our elbows, keep going up to our shoulders, and down our spine, noting our spine, all the way down to our hips, around our hips, down our thighs, to our knees, down our shins, or calves, or both, ankles, feet, and toes. So that's one body scan. And you can do as many of those body scans as you need to, or want to bring yourself into the present moment. You can add things to those body scans. You can thank your body, whether it be your feet or your hands. You can just notice any spots of tension. You can deliberately relax your shoulders as you scan past them. Deliberately note your posture. So you can add lots of things to that. You might choose to do a body scan deliberately on your bones. So you're visualizing only your bones as you go up and down your body. You might decide to visualize your vascular system and just try and visualize that as you go up and down your body. You don't need to worry about the detail, you don't need to be a medical student, but it just adds a different thing for you to focus on in your mind. Adds a bit of variety and interest, if that's what helps, keeps you focused. As I said, you can do those body scans up and down as many times as you wish. And if that's your only mindfulness practice, then that is okay. So they're the techniques I was going to cover tonight. Just a few mindfulness of the body type of techniques. Some of them you can use out in public. I suppose you could use them all out in public really, but focusing on your feet as you're standing in queue is quite an easy one. Focusing on your hands while you're driving, maybe stopped at the red light. Not possibly while you're actually driving, it is doable. And if you want to, of a morning or an evening, take a seat somewhere in a nice quiet place and do the body scans that I did last. It's a great way to slow your breathing down, slow your mind down, bring yourself into the present moment. And the more you do that, the more your body will get the knack of slowing down, being a bit calmer. And it really is all about sort of changing your perception, as I had in one of those pictures on my intro slide. You change your perception of things, you change your body. So by deliberately slowing down your breathing and deliberately coming more into the here and now, you're training your body and you're training your mind to let go a little bit. Let go of things in the past that you can't change. And let go of all the possibilities that might happen in the future that you don't have a great deal of control over either. So really, mindfulness is more about what you let go of than what you hang on to. For those people watching me on Facebook, thank you. I've just had a bit of a crash on my Zoom link, so I'm waiting for that to reconnect. I don't know what's happening. But anyway, thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments. Happy to answer any questions you might have. But I'm going to be doing this every Wednesday from 8 till about 8:45 for my midweek mindfulness sessions. And maybe you can join me each Wednesday. If you have any questions or comments or things you'd like me to cover in particular, let me know and I'll see what I can do. All right, thanks very much. I'll leave it there. Good night.